on quantifiers by defining what quantifiers are. Quantifiers are a type of noun marker that expresses quantity, meaning they answer the questions how much or how many. Numbers express exact quantities, right? However, quantifiers express inexact quantities. Inexact meaning not exact. Let's take a look at an example. When I visited my aunt's farm, I saw 1 cow, 2 goats, several horses, and many chickens. The words 1 and 2 give us exact quantities. However, the words several and many give us some idea of the quantities, but they're inexact. These are examples of what we call quantifiers. Now, you may be wondering, where do quantifiers go in a sentence? Quantifiers go before nouns, before the nouns that they mark. Here's an example sentence. My aunt also had some pigs. Some is the quantifier. Pigs is the noun. Here's another example. In the house, she also kept a couple of dogs. Let's keep going. She has a great deal of land for all of the animals. Usually, my aunt doesn't have much time to relax. Maintaining a farm definitely requires a lot of work. Okay, now we've seen different examples. I want you to know, though, that there are different types of quantifiers, and we can categorize them as those that are used with only count nouns. The examples were several, many, and a couple of, and those that can be used with only non-count nouns. The examples we saw were a great deal of and much. And the last type of quantifier can be used with both count nouns and non-count nouns. And the examples we saw were some, all of, and a lot of. In the next video, we're going to talk more about this last type, so make sure to watch part 2. In this video, I would like to talk about quantifiers for both count nouns, such as cookies, and non-count nouns, such as milk. Take a look at this chart. This chart shows some of the most common quantifiers. For large quantities, we have a lot of, lots of, plenty of. For small quantities, some, and other quantities, no, any, all, most, and enough. Now notice some of the quantifiers are one-word quantifiers, like no or some, and others are phrases such as a lot of and plenty of. Now all of these quantifiers are really great to know because they always work. Even if you don't know if a noun is a count noun or a non-count noun, they're going to work fine. Now let's talk about each of the quantifiers in the chart, starting with large quantities. A lot of. Here's an example. Stanley won a lot of money. When you use this phrase, don't forget the a lot of. That's a common mistake. He plans to do lots of traveling from now on. Lots of is the plural form. But keep in mind, lots of is more informal than a lot of. Now let's talk about plenty of. Plenty of also expresses large quantities. There is plenty of meat here for one person. Plenty of means more than necessary. Here's another example. There are plenty of colors to choose from. Yeah, I think so. Small quantities can be expressed using some. Take a look at this photo. I could say, wow, there are some dogs in that car. Or if I'm feeling like this, I might say, I could really use some coffee. Some is a very useful quantifier. Then there are other quantifiers, such as no. There is no traffic right now. Oh, look at that sign. No animals are allowed inside this restaurant. Any is another very common quantifier, but it's a little more difficult to use. Remember to use it in negative statements or question form. Let's look at an example. I do not have any furniture yet. Notice that the not makes this statement negative. Let's take a look at a question. Will you get any curtains for your windows? I might answer, no, I'm not planning on getting any curtains since the trees give enough privacy. Any actually can be used in some affirmative statements if it's used correctly, meaning you add the correct words, barely or hardly, before any. There is barely or hardly any room on this train. Here's another example. What could you say here? Well, you could say, there is, that's right, barely or hardly any fuel left, meaning almost no fuel. Another quantity is all, like all babies are beautiful and almost all of the windows are closed. Obviously, almost all is not the same as all, but what it means is close to all. Most. Most Americans have a college education. Close to 60% have attended a university or two-year college. Most just means more than 50%. Enough. I have enough cash to pay. Enough just means that you have the amount that you need. Now we've looked at a lot of different quantifiers that can